We're now going to move on to our fourth speaker of the evening, and that is Margaret Turner, and she is speaking about how Exeter Growers Co-operative embody the ethos of reduce, reuse and recycle. Margaret, over to you. You're on mute, Margaret.
Is that okay?
Brilliant, excellent. James, are you okay to share the slides?
Oh, I've got a...
There we go.
Thank you. That could we have the first one? That's it. That's fine. Thank you, James. Before I tell you about the reduce, reuse, recycle, I'll just introduce what Exeter Growers Co-operative is and where it came from. It began as Exeter Community Agriculture in 2009, and it's a project that came out of Transition Town Exeter. And the transition towns have been called inspirational, harnessing hope instead of guilt and optimism instead of fear. That was said by Patrick Holden, who was the director of the Soil Association. And I think he was saying it's so easy to be sort of feeling depressed by the climate and ecological problems. But it's good to have hope and to do something positive, which I feel we do. The mission statement, going back to the beginning, and is still pertinent, Exeter Growers Co-operative strives to promote understanding, enjoyment and sustainable use of the land, especially through food production. Its aims are to give people within Exeter area the opportunity to produce their own food locally, organically and in a sustainable way, to facilitate the learning and sharing of skills, to offer people of all ages the opportunity to benefit from being on the land, and to encourage diversity of wildlife and care of the environment. Just that third one, to offer people of all ages the opportunity to benefit. Although a lot of us are retired, we do have younger people, younger members, and we do very much welcome children who get a lot out of it, including my own granddaughter who's now 14. She very much enjoys being there. So the next slide I'll come on to is the what we reduce. We reduce food miles because we grow and harvest our own fruit and vegetables, so that it doesn't have to be bought by lorries and so on that have brought food across the country. And there are at least 2 members who have bikes with trailers, so they can really carry stuff with completely carbon free. And today when I was up there, there were 5 bikes at the bottom of the field and 1 person had walked. And that is very much in tune with the sort of spirit of trying to be tread as lightly as possible on the earth. We reduce the need to use tap water because we collect our rainwater, which we store in water butts and an irrigation pond that is quite big and serves the plot, which it's at the top of the hill, and the field is on a slope. So we reduce the use of energy from the grid because our electric fence, which is to keep the rabbits out in a kind way, just puts them off, and the water pump to pump the water out of the pond, both are fueled by solar panels, and the electricity is stored in old car batteries. And we don't need to use gas to heat our water for tea and coffee, or for heating up food, because we collect twigs and people bring hedge cuttings and so on. And we have lovely oak trees and so on that shed twigs. We don't harm the ecosystem because we garden organically without any chemicals or pesticides or whatever. The best way of coping with pests is by keeping a healthy soil, to some extent companion planting. And we have a wildlife pond which has abundance of frogs, and so that those help to keep the slugs down. Don't have a lot of trouble with slugs. And we also keep things like cabbage white butterflies out by netting, so that they can't lay their eggs on the brassicas. And we reduce transport costs by buying new timber locally from, I'm told, Haldon Forest. And I've just put in, we reduce stress by working together in a beautiful place with nature. It's very restorative to be up there. And I was up there early this morning, and it just lifted my spirits to be there. I felt all the stress of yesterday, which was spent mostly on the computer, sort of ebbing away. So the next slide shows our irrigation pond, I think. Yes, there we are. Obviously there's a plank so that if anything gets in the water, it can get out again. Thank you. The next slide, please, James. So this is reusing. We've got some lovely ceramic markers which were made to mark what crops we had. Those are used year after year. Posts are used, ground coverings, and tools. I'm glad we followed Men in Sheds, because if they're broken, we have them repaired by Men in Sheds. And that's been really very, very helpful. Timber and drain pipes and piping, so that when we've just had a new lean-to to cover some items, that was all came out of reused stuff and reused drain pipes and the piping that takes the water down the field, and the water storage halfway down the field. And then we reuse what people bring to us that they don't need anymore. So we've had a lovely shed given to us by somebody who's giving up, a member who is transferring from an allotment to being part of the cooperative, and tools and equipment when people don't need them anymore. The next slide, please. I think shows, yes, it shows some of the sheds and some of the wood that is going to be reused for, it's being reused for edging and so on.
Great, Margaret, we've got a minute left, Margaret.
Oh, okay, right, quick. Then the next slide, please. Recycle. We recycle all the weeds, the remains of crop plants when they're finished, vegetable peelings that people bring back, to make compost. Compost is really important. Cardboard provides the brown component of compost, and this all goes back to return to the soil to nourish it. And tools, when we do need new tools, we buy them from Men in Sheds. I was using this morning a delightful little hand fork, which I bought there. And I say we slightly facetiously, we recycle ourselves. We give to the land and we take from the land. Oh, and the ask is, if yes, if anybody has anything to recycle.
On to the last slide, James. I think the ask is there. Great.
Yeah, sorry, thank you. Yes, think of us when you have things to recycle, from tools to wheelbarrows, from poles and timber to sheets of cardboard, from water butts to watering cans. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Margaret. Margaret, there's a question about how many members that you have, Margaret.
I'm not quite sure, but we have about nearly 30, I would think, full members.
Great. And Margaret, I'm wondering if you are willing, is there an email address that people can contact you? Because there is a question around, are public allowed to look around your lovely site? And I'm wondering if you'd like to share an email address so people can contact you.
Yes, I should be able to, and it's on our website. And I don't have the facility. I mean, I don't mind people. I don't really want my own personal email address.
Fine. No, that's fine, Margaret. That's absolutely fine. I just thought that you might want to have some more questions about that, but that's absolutely fine. We'll share your website address in the chat.
Oh, that would be really good, and that will come to me, and that I can answer it.
Brilliant, excellent. Thank you so much, Margaret.